We are offering freelance services in data analytics, machine learning, audio engineering, and web development. Feel free to check out our website, services section, to see our portfolio and what we can do. And book a call with us to discuss your data challenges. We'll be happy to help you out. This is Data for Future. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to Data for Future. Welcome back. Super happy about our new episode. This is number 45, and today I'm super excited about what we'll be talking about. My guest is Korey Stegared-Pace, and he is a AI developer advocate at Peltarion, and apart from that, a podcast host himself at the Makers Show, where he speaks about AI-powered products, and well, I would say generally a very active member of AI community. You organize machine learning meetups in Stockholm, Sweden, and so very active member of this sphere. And so today we'll be talking about the democratization of AI. Super interesting topic. And yeah, welcome to our show, Korey. It's very nice to have you here.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be number 45. Great number. Michael Jordan's return number. So there we go. And super impressed as well to be a part of all of the other previous episodes and what the stories you're telling. So it's super nice.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure you have more things to say. Like probably you would like to make an introduction for yourself. You could maybe explain us what exactly do you do? What does it mean to be an AI developer advocate?
Yeah, that is a great question that I find out every day. Try to find a better answer for. But I think it's interesting because the company I work for, Peltarion, we have built a no-code AI platform. So technically, you don't need to be a developer to work on the platform. So my title is a funky one where I'm a developer advocate, but mainly it's just a great title because I advocate for users, but mainly my main purpose is to make sure that people are getting something from the platform and the platform is giving something to them. So, if they understand what problem they want to solve on the platform using AI and deep learning models, that we have the ability and the tools to do that, and 3, also the knowledge and know-how and how-tos and things like that for them to do that. So I do a lot of work within the community, building content, and also building connections to different other systems, whether they're app builders, no-code app builders, or places where data lives, because it makes it super easy to work with AI if you can making connection there. So those are probably my main goals. But ultimately, like I said, it's just to make sure that people are getting value from the platform.
Yeah. And so maybe you could describe to us a bit more what the platform is. How does it work?
Yeah. So our main goal is to, as the episode title says, is to democratize AI. And I like or don't like that kind of phrasing because it's easy to get away with not actually explaining what that means. So I guess to Peltarion and to the logo of democratizing AI, it really is the understanding and idea that people who are close to the problem, whether that's a business problem, a personal problem, or building a company, should have the ability to also work with AI. So traditionally, in an enterprise world, you would need a data science team, and maybe even data engineering team or machine learning engineering team to get some sort of AI projects done. And that really is a congestion of skill set. So we have developed this platform to anyone that has some data that they are connected to the problem they want to solve, and they believe that AI can be a solution to that, can upload their data to the platform and do a visual process, build an AI model. We have some pre-trained models within the platform to make things easier, and then ultimately get some results and be able to sort of connect that into some sort of business process or product that they are developing. So we really want to be able to have people that understand, have some expert level knowledge in or their day-to-day processes of problems, being able to actually enable themselves to develop AI and to ultimately build some sort of solutions to that.
That's super interesting. You already mentioned a couple of things which I would like to dive deeper into. For example, no code is one of the buzzwords. And actually, I would like to have a counter question. When you say democratized AI, I mean, today we all use AI anyway, even without knowing it, right? So, for example, if you like on your phone, if you type the words and there's this thing called, I think it's called Swift key or something like that, where it guesses the next word that you're gonna type, so you can autocomplete. That's already AI.
Yeah.
Or chatbots that help users navigate the websites, and the list goes, it's endless. So if we use this kind of AI that we use already without even knowing it, would you say this is an example of democratization?
I think so, but I would also disagree a little bit with that too, because one of the things about democracy, if we want to get really political, is like it's a participating, right? You go out and vote, or you express your rights. So it's something you're doing active. And I think that's what's interesting about the world of AI. And it's a really great point you said about the phone, is that sometimes you're using AI and you don't know it. Because on the flip side is that sometimes AI is using you and you don't know it, right? So like you apply for a job, for instance, and there's some sort of AI scanning your CV or resume to determine if you're going to be a better fit for the job. And so that is like what AI is. And I think I always use the counterexample of the internet, because people get the internet, like you log on to your favorite social networks and you participate, or at least you view something and you're actively logging in and logging out, where AI doesn't have those type of capabilities. So I think the democratization of AI is this like actually someone participating in the AI process or logging into AI, rather than AI simply being done to you, or you're a point in some sort of someone's data set and you don't know it. So that's I think the differences between AI just purely existing and providing solutions and democratizing AI.
That's very interesting. So it's more like about actually developing models for yourself, for your own personalized needs, for your use case.
Or your business. Whatever. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. I actually thought about, would you say it's like a WordPress? So, for example, in the internet, you can build a website without writing a code, and the WordPress would be one of the, or there are several services that allow for that. Would it be something like that?
Yeah, I really love the WordPress example as being a connection to us, because even with WordPress, you still need to have some sort of technical knowledge. At least you can't just go to WordPress.com. There's still some you need to make posts and maybe tags, and you kind of have an understanding. And we're very much aligned with that same idea that you don't necessarily need to be an AI expert, and we provide a lot of beginner AI knowledge with outside of the platform, but on our site for people to get up to speed. So we have a course called like Faster AI, where you can learn what AI model is, how to tackle AI problems, and things like that. But ultimately, when you get to the platform, you should have some sort of data. We have some free data sets so you can get understanding how the platform works, but you still need to have some knowledge to get up and running and really get the most benefits of the platform. So I really like, the WordPress analogy, because it's also very similar to our product, where it's, again, you don't need to develop or code anything, but it's good if you have some sort of base or foundation knowledge as well.
Yeah. That's super, super interesting. I mean, I imagine we're at a very early stage, right, of this process of democratization. I mean, for the internet, it took how many? Maybe a decade or two? I'm not sure when WordPress was developed.
Some may be saying we're still democratizing the internet. I don't know.
We're still democratizing.
Or anti-democratizing the internet, depending on who you're talking about it, yes.
So, where would you say are we right now in terms of how democratic our machine learning is in general?
Well, I definitely think we're at the dawn of, or the beginnings of what I call like the tooling revolution of AI. So, they have what we call AI winter, where, there's different phrases in the world of AI where it was not a very popular word to say, because either it failed on promises of what AI could do. And, then they people put AI in things and it failed. And then they said, no, we don't want to do that anymore. But where we're at now is that there's a lot of maturity and sophistication on the research of AI, where we have not a few, but quite a lot actually, established type of AI models that we find are highly productive and highly accessible for the amount of data that you might need to train them on or get some sort of benefit from. And thus, that opens up a whole new world of building tools upon those models to increase accessibility. And I think that's still in the very early stages. There's other companies out there like us, but now it's just determining of how simple can you make it, or how effective can you make it, and who is going to be using this product the most, and who gets the best value from them, I think. And that is a question that's always up in the air, and I think that'll be the next level of this sort of tooling revolution in the world of AI.
Well, actually, maybe before we move any further, why should we even care about this? Like, why is that important that AI becomes accessible in your own view?
Well, I think the problems that we face now, and I think if I want to say high level, those global problems that we as even a human civilization have never faced before, and there's things that are not going to be sort of scalable in the ways that we have done them in the past, because we have now massive amounts of data accessible to us through services like the internet and other services that we just produce data from. And to be able to process and use that data to actually solve some problems is, again, you can't just write a computer program and to do this easily. So there will need to be some sort of level of automation and AI to be able to process the data and actually give us some insights and predictions that will be important to us now and also in the future when we're looking at things. So I think it's really super important for people to get involved as soon as possible, because I think that will touch every type of job or profession out there, just much like the internet has in the last 2 decades.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, a lot of times, if you listen to most influential figures in the world of machine learning, like Andrew Ng, for example, many people say that there's still so many undiscovered applications of AI that can make this world a better place, like right now, in terms of climate change, in terms of many social problems that we're trying to tackle in the world. I guess this would be also one of them, or I guess it would be the reason as well for us to give access to AI to the general public, to more specialists that might have a lot of expertise in certain fields, I imagine, but not maybe in the field of coding and deep learning or anything like that.
Yeah,
and so
I definitely do think that's great. I mean, there's almost like 3 levels of accessibility with AI for now. I mean, AI is still a very mathematical pursuit, so it's having that knowledge. But then you have to put this new other layer of, you should learn Python, which is like a coding language, which, if you had become a mathematician, dedicate your whole life to mathematician your whole life, and then now you have decided, now I need to learn this coding language. And then after that, it's, okay, getting the AI knowledge itself, and then deploying that. So there's still 3 layers that need to be sort of broken down before many people or the general public can use it. And our aim at Peltarion is to knock some of those barriers down as well.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, for me, I started from zero to learn Python, and AI. I didn't study this; just I studied by myself, and it's not easy. I mean,
no,
I think anyone can do that, but it takes a long time. And actually, I was thinking of one course that I did. It's called Fast AI, which is kind of an attempt for people to make it more accessible, so that you don't have to code everything yourself, and you just can write a couple of lines of code. But you still need to know a lot of Python. It's still not as customizable as you would like it sometimes, and yeah, I think there's still a lot of work to be done. So, how do you imagine the world of accessible democratic AI? Let's say something like with the internet today. How do you imagine this world to be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it sort of depends on what part of the world we're talking about. I guess in the world of professional work, I think there will be, just like many people use Office suite products like Word or Excel or the equivalents of Google. You will also have a AI related product to that, where you are putting in the data maybe from these other sources like Excel or Google Sheets, and you're getting predictions back, and you are having at least some knowledge of how to either tune or fine tune that, or what is good performance, so that you can end up deploying or feel comfortable with that going forward. So I think we will all be sort of wizards in that sense of crafting some sort of AI and making that part of our daily work, because solving problems that, like you said, we don't even know our use cases at the moment, but someone that, has a very specialized and even niche skill set or niche specialty could, find a lot of value into doing that. So I think that's what the world will look like, is that we just have another sort of app, and maybe even not just a specific app, but it's just built into everything else. I think we're getting through that now, but we, again, like I said, it's not really a participative AI process. It's that, oh yeah, here's my prediction, or here's my key suggestion for what's the word suggestion. But I think there'll be a later on where we can all take an active participation in that type of work.
It's super interesting just to imagine how it would be. Can you imagine some kind of, for example, right now we have internet, we have different websites, each one with its own, I don't know, if it's a blog, it has its own goal or some kind of problem that it's trying to solve, or a need that it's trying to fulfill for someone else. Maybe, like, can you imagine something like that in the future? You could just go there, and for each specific use case, you can find already a built system that can solve the problem.
Yeah, I hope it's not too far in the future, because that's what we're sort of aiming to do at Peltarion. So, yeah, that's the idea is that we will be your shop for AI solutions, or again, you take your data. We have some pre-trained models on the platform and are ready to go and really get some results that will be effective for you.
Yeah, definitely. And so, tell us more about how is your day to day? What do you work on in Peltarion? How does this democratization process go?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I always tell my manager I'm filling buckets every day, and then at the end of the week I empty all the buckets and I go back and start filling them again. And I guess one of the buckets that I primarily fill is the community bucket. So one is we are really kind of embracing this, also a buzzword as you mentioned, no code revolution, which is I think a very interesting community to be involved with, because they are enabling people to build applications, and people that never thought they would have the skills or resources to do so, but they can now build fully functioning and very slick and very effective applications, whether they're web applications, mobile applications, things like that. And with AI and our platform, it's great if you can build a model for on the platform, but the real value is when you have that in an actual product or an actual business process. So working with that community, because everyone's sort of really geared to building products and it's super accessible for them, it's just a great match to what we're trying to do with AI. And there's obviously some education to get the people to think, oh great, I can build a web application. But that AI thing is like super serious, and that's something I still ever get to be able to do. But then once they actually get introduced to the platform and how easy it is to work with, then they start to get ideas of what they can actually do with AI and the platform. And it's super nice to see that sort of process go on to the sort of individuals we spoke to and work with.
Super interesting. Like what are the challenges that you face? You mentioned education probably is one of them. Like what are the challenges on your way to give this access to AI to everyone?
Yeah,
see?
Yeah, we definitely exist in an environment where either people kind of fit into two profiles, whether it's AI is something I'm super interested in, but I just don't know where to start. Or AI is not something I'm interested in because I don't know where to start. And it's funny because then both these people sort of show up in our scope, I guess, as far as in our world of either they just come to the site or they contact us on our emails or customer service or something. And it is like, okay, well, you need to know what AI can do, because it's a buzzword, but there's still some certain problems AI is really good at, and some things that AI either can't do or you can probably achieve without AI. So there's a whole world of like RPA, or like robot process automation, that is, I think it's mixed with AI a lot. And there's obviously some AI going on in some of those things, but a lot of those problems could be solved with that, and maybe at a lesser cost or lesser data cost or things like that. So it is kind of like, tell me what you're interested in, understanding the use cases. So we really push to build out use cases on the website, and also talk to people who are building things and kind of promote them, so people can get a general understanding. Like I have a 10-point slide of all the sort of problems that you can solve on AI on Peltarion, and our classic AI problems with dealing with images and text and your audio files. but not everyone has seen that slide, unfortunately. So I'm
Oh,
trying
wow.
to show. I'm trying to show everyone I know.
Is it shareable?
Yeah, it is shareable.
Oh, amazing. Let's just link it in the description.
And
I'm super interested to see it as well.
Yeah, so and that's just to get people started on like what's possible. And obviously there's newer things out there around generation, like GPT-3, that's stuff, and people will write into us and say like, "Great, I have this idea. I think GPT-3 can do it." And yeah, maybe not, but it's like people kind of take shots in the dark, what they think they could do. So that takes a lot of courage, I think. So we try to help those people out. But then there's obviously the other group of people who don't know where to start, and they just have like not written AI off because they still enter our orbit, I guess, or space. But then that takes a lot of time to also get to that of understanding what they could do. And then once you get to that stage, it's like the big bomb drops, which is, oh yeah, you need some data to do, to do this too. So we're trying a lot also to kind of help with the education side and point people to tools that are out there if we can't do it on the platform, building data sets and what good data, bad data is, and how it's that whole process as well.
Wow, super, super interesting. And so important what you say, like to explain to people what AI can or cannot do. Because it's such a buzzword. I mean, there's lots of hype still around the AI, and many people kind of, take advantage of it. But then there is also lots of jokes how, those companies just want to put AI into something, and this will magically solve all the problems.
Yeah.
Whereas in the reality, it doesn't work like that. And many times, as you say, there might be a much simpler but much more robust solution. I don't know, like in my day-to-day, it's lots of statistics that exist forever. Solve those kind of problems sometimes much better than fancy algorithms.
Yeah.
But yeah, and for sure there are lots of applications that, as we mentioned, not discovered yet where AI can be used. Especially like when you see how little data you need to fit a pre-trained model and get a really decent performance. It's crazy. Like when I just got into deep learning and started to code, I think I had like 50 images that I just scraped from the internet and trained a convolutional net that was like 94% accuracy.
Nice.
With a very balanced data set. And it was like, wow, I could never imagine anything like that. So I guess there is a lot of potential.
Definitely.
And so on that note, what are the most, like in your own experience, what were the most exciting and interesting use cases that you've seen?
Yeah, so there was one kind of team that we were partnering with, a kind of education or accelerator program here in Sweden called Hyper Ireland, and they have these AI business consultant teams that they are training up, and they were doing work with one of the cities here in Sweden. And I thought one of the very interesting use cases was, maybe being a father myself, it touched my heart. But they were working with the kind of daycare system here, or at least in that city, on being able to do some sort of sentiment analysis on essentially the kids' reviews of the lessons, on how they're feeling. It was like a huge benefit because it helps direct the teacher on how the lesson is going. And, if they have these responses, and of course, the teacher could read every one of them and then kind of process it. But then you have big classes and it just alleviates the stress of the teacher to do all that stuff. And you can get some general analysis there. But on the flip side, one of the other side benefits, or maybe the main benefit, depending on how you ask, was that the students, and these are, I don't know, probably from 3 to 10 years old, for instance, they felt like they were actively involved in the lesson, or being able to participate in the crafting of the lesson. And that gave them a lot more confidence to approach that. And just to have this whole process of, okay, you go to, I think it was like a panel or an iPad, and provide some quick feedback. And then using an AI model to digest that and say, okay, this is the general feelings of the class or something like that. So I thought that was a very interesting use case. And again, something that you would never, as someone like me who is probably more technically leaning and has not worked in a daycare, would never think of as being a use case for.
Wow, that's really interesting. Probably that's one of those cases where everyone has some experience in what they do, and many people have incredible experience that can be leveraged. Very good example, I think. Any other one that comes to your mind? I just find them very, like, when you put examples on the table, it inspires a lot to see, what other people achieve with that.
Yeah. We actually have running a startup accelerator program at the moment. So they are. I've got many different use cases to talk about with them, but there's been a couple of teams doing some stuff with like image classification. So, for instance, I'm working with a gentleman, and his mom is running a company in India that's actually doing gooseberries. I don't know. You might want to link to a gooseberry photo in the show notes, because I don't know how many people are exposed to that. But yeah, she goes around India and taking all these photos of these gooseberries and understands exactly what ripe gooseberries are and the different types. But he would like to sort of build an application or a model where that you can just take a photo of the gooseberries and you can be able to classify those things. And it's super interesting because it's a marriage of someone that's doing something already, at least is sort of like collecting data, and that's part of the process, and then also that sort of expert knowledge that we've been talking about, the expertise. But then here he is, as a son, I would like to help my mom with AI kind of thing, and that's again, there's some of the potentials there, and image classification is a very classic case for AI, and we have the models to support that on the platform. So yeah, it's a really inspiring stuff like that I think will be, again, a part of our everyday life, hopefully in the future, where we can just look at processes that we do every day that could be automated, or we could get a machine to do way more efficiently than we can, and hopefully we have all the tools and the accessibility to do so.
Yeah, definitely. Very nice examples, and especially I always like examples of more like developing countries where technology is used, because I think there is a great disproportion in how we use tech. Although many people in Africa might have mobile phone, it's not the same. Sometimes the level of education is not the same to be able to use the technology well, substantially today. And so all of those examples are really amazing. And one of another things that I wanted to speak with you about was, okay, like we've talked about this bright side of democratization of AI. On the other hand, do you see some risks or dangers in giving everyone access to it?
Yes, certainly. That would be foolish for me to say not. There is obviously either over-reliance on predictions, is probably the skin surface issue. But I always talk to people when I'm talking, in the initial discussions of maybe them getting up on building something, is, you could have AI, be the process itself or be a part of the process. So AI can give you a prediction, and you could have some sort of action that gets automated from that. Like, let's say you could reject, like in the world of insurance, you can reject someone's claim because you think that this is a duplicate claim and the model has predicted it's seen this for something. Or you can have that as a part of the process where the model comes and says, I have this level of confidence that this is a duplicate, and then you have someone still go in and these get flagged for review. It depends on again how important, or what I like to say, the cost of prediction is, as far as what actions are being taking place after that. Whether it's just like maybe in consumer products, it's just that it's an awkward moment for a customer because the prediction is wrong, and they might write you an angry email. Or in the case of medical technology, someone could lose their life, or a diagnosis could be wrong. And there's obviously ways that you need to approach both those problems in quite different ways. It's not just one way is the right way to do that. So that's probably the skin surface wrong predictions, but you can have serious consequences. And then obviously the AI for evil world of doing anything evil to make these predictions, which I won't give anyone inspiration or ideas on doing here on this podcast or ever. But yeah, there's also another world of that. And we have terms of services on the platform, so you're not doing anything evil or military or weaponizing something like that. So we try to put that. So again, we know that if you put a tool out there will always be someone that takes the hammer, hits the nail, or takes the hammer and hits someone else with it. So you have to have those regulations and eye towards those things. Yeah,
definitely. Oh, I hope our listeners are very good people.
I hope so too.
that do not use any evil AI system or don't have an intention to. Yeah, definitely. I guess that ethics play a big role here as well. For example, if we come back a little bit to the developing world, like as you said, normally it's not just AI, it's complex systems, how people deploy those models. And many times that prediction can result in someone else, in someone not getting a credit in a bank or not getting a job because some system just made an output of 0 instead of 1. And that's obviously very important, and especially as more and more decisions are being made by AI automatically, it's a big issue. And I also think a big issue is there are many different forms of biases in data or in those kinds of systems. One of them, for example, is representation bias. In one of the episodes before, we were talking about, it was really, really interesting, about ethical AI, and that, like, there was an example which I found, it's not funny at all. There was a system that was like depixelizing images. So if you have a very low resolution image, it could make a high resolution image out of that. And so I think it was Barack Obama, or like when a black person was processed by the system, the output was a white person, like was a white face. In some cases, it's just, a very awkward and very bad, coincidence. But if your life depends on it, if some decisions are being made about your financial life, your education, your job, it's obviously a big issue.
Right. No, definitely. And that's why I think the whole idea of democratizing AI is also rooted in the world of AI ethics, because if you have more people participating and more diverse voices, you're less likely to have those mistakes, or not necessarily less likely to have those mistakes, but less likely for those mistakes to hit a production system and be out there, making decisions for that. So I think it's also a very nice tie-in to that theme.
Yeah, and Peltarion, like, is there any process in place how you at least try to ensure that the AI is being used ethically?
We have materials, and we try to push people in our knowledge center about the ideas of what AI ethics is, and also showing some things within our tutorials and stuff like that on what the proper production is. And when we have businesses that use our system in our onboarding process, we also speak to those points. Ultimately, we can't hyperly control everyone doing something on there and look at all of their results and say, no, this is wrong, because we can't be a complete arbiter of all of that. But we do again get involved with those discussions and make sure again, and we have some terms of service. So if we do detect that there's some violation of that, then we reserve the right to remove those either data sets or that user. So that's kind of where we draw the line on those types of things.
Oh, great. I know normally it's not someone evil who does a mistake. It's just people who don't really understand completely what are they doing, or they're not too familiar with the problem that they're trying to solve, and that's those kinds of things. Actually, I've been thinking about one more thing. Being employed in data, what will happen to data scientists and data analysts? Will we disappear when AI gets democratized?
I don't think so. I think there will always be a place for data scientists, and even data scientists use our platform because it's great to make quick experiments on whatever their things are, and that's another kind of benefit for a tool like Peltarion is again, since it's a no-code platform, you don't need to go in and fire up your environment and all of that to actually get started with that. So if you do have and again, in this tool in the hands of an expert, is actually like a Ferrari version where you can build your own custom models, and even download the model once you've completed that, and you can put it in your code. So it's still going to be a room for that, because there'll still be groundbreaking things that need to be involved with. But I think what's nice is that we will remove the congestion from those individuals and be able for them to do, maybe not say more impactful work, but maybe more innovative work that might be needed for the organization, while maybe your standard sort of classification problems or analysis problems, or even working with Tabular can be done by that individual who's working with the data itself, and not needing to employ a whole data science team to do so.
And do you see some jobs emerging? Maybe in your day-to-day, you see some use cases where maybe not an entirely new job, but some new tasks emerge where you can imagine this will develop into a job in the future?
Yeah, I do imagine if the world of generative AI it keeps to expand, I do imagine that there will be a role for people who are great at building prompts to those models, because those are all predicated on you writing a prompt or you're writing a description or something like that to get the best results from the model. And I already see just from talking to people who have worked with GPT-3 and have that, even production products out there, that they're offering, consultative services and things like that to other people who are interested. So I think that would be definitely a new job, and probably not just in the generative world, but AI as a whole, that there's people who are able to frame the problems into AI problems. And I don't think the world of consultancy addresses that in a way. I think there will be, obviously enterprises that want to have a team of consultants they hired and say that they've done that. But I do think there will be ways where internal people will be dedicated inside companies to do that for them.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. Yeah. I mean, also being right now a data analyst, scientist, machine learning engineer, you need to understand the problem very well. That's why the domain knowledge is so important. I guess it will become even more important later, as you don't have to focus that much maybe on the technical side, but framing the problem is a very important skill. So
yeah,
very good advice for everyone who is starting out in data or is employed right now. It was a very, very, very interesting discussion. I find the topic incredibly inspiring, and no one knows how it will evolve. It evolves very rapidly. Yeah, for sure, lots of progress coming soon. Thank you a lot, Korey, for being our guest. Before I let you go, this is your minute of glory right now. As I said, Korey also hosts a podcast, so it might be the right time to mention that and do a self-promotion.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, it's called The Maker Show, MAIKERS. So I don't know if it's Maker Show or Miker Show, depending on what language you speak. So we, me and a friend, we are interviewing people who are building AI-powered products. We found, and especially working with people that are working on the platform as well, there's this idea that AI is only reserved for academics to doing research papers, or enterprise companies, your Google, Facebook, Apple, what have you, to do AI in production. But there's actually a lot of people who are individuals or small teams, startups, maybe 2-3 people, who are building AI products, either whether they're side businesses, full-time startups, or just, again, like bootstrap businesses, because there's this accessibility to AI models now has exploded. So I really wanted to help tell those people's stories to also really inspire other people to do the same, because I think ultimately the more AI products that are out there, the better, because then we can get a better understanding of, what works and what doesn't work. We get to the table, more people to the table talking about AI ethics, for example. Tune in. It's Maker Show, MAIKERS show.com, and Maker Show on Twitter as well.
Amazing. I'll leave the link in the description, and for sure you have one more listener, meaning me. Thanks a lot for joining us, and yeah, have a beautiful day.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.